The League 2 automatic promotion race is certainly spicing up, and we've just 11 registered official game week matches left. Obviously, some teams do have a game in hand. In today's video, we're going to break down all of the top 6 is remaining League 2 fixtures and see how easy or hard they are. We've got a traffic light system to go through and rank them with. So if you do want to enjoy today's video, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. 150 likes as always would be massively appreciated, and let me know down below who do you think will finish in the top 3 come the end of the campaign. Now obviously there are 24 teams in Sky Bet League 2, so how we're going to break this down is if you have a fixture against any of the top 6, that is a fixture worth 4 points. Then from 7th down to 12th, that is worth 3 points. From 13th down to 18th, that is worth 2 points. And then from 19th down to bottom of the table, 24th, that is worth 1 point. So you want as little points as possible. Obviously, with some teams having games in hand and stuff, this might be slightly skewed, but it just gives a rough basis to go off of who's got the easiest and who's got the hardest fixtures. We'll start out firstly then with league leaders Walsall FC, and I feel like their fixtures are split up very nicely in all honesty. The next couple of games are going to be pretty tough. Obviously, Grimsby and Bromley are currently chasing a playoff spot. Then they've got Gillingham, who haven't really got much to play for. Then 3 really tough games against teams in the top 6 with them at this moment in time. And then 4 pretty easy games you would expect if they want promotion. They've got to be picking up at least 10 points out of them next 4. Then a pretty tough final day of the season away to Crewe Alexandria, who could be still chasing a playoff spot come that day, or Walsall could already be promoted by that point. But that does leave them then with a total score of 28 points. On to my team Bradford City then, and we actually have the exact total amount of points as what Walsall do in terms of how hard both teams' fixtures are. Obviously first and second at this moment in time. We are 2 points behind the Saddlers at the moment. Our next 4 games, you would say, obviously the Colchester game will be a pretty tough one, but Gillingham, Tranmere and Accrington around that game, you would be expecting with the form that we're on, we should be picking up 9 points out of them games. Colchester at home, with how good our home form has been, 10 home wins in a row, haven't conceded at home in the last 6 games. Again, you would be expecting 3 points in that one. But then April is where our real tough running does come. Port Vale away, obviously a fellow team chasing autos. Crewe are looking for a playoff spot. Swindon, I'm hoping, don't have any chance of getting in the playoffs by that point, and they're kind of on the beach because they have been very good under Ian Holloway. Notts County at home, a fellow top 6 side. Chesterfield away, looking earlier on in the season, even just a couple of months ago, you're thinking that's going to be a real tough game towards the end of the season, but recently they have massively fallen off, so I'm not that nervous going into that one. Our final away game of the season is Doncaster. We've had quite a good couple of years there over the last couple of seasons. We won 3-1 there last season, 1-0 the year before that as well. So hopefully we can get another victory in that one, and we end the season with Fleetwood at home again. I would like to hope that their season is already done by that point and they're kind of on the beach a little bit. But I do think it is very interesting that both Walsall and Bradford, we have the exact same level of hardness and easiness in terms of our fixtures. Doncaster Rovers are up next then, and out of the 3 teams we've gone through so far, on paper they have the hardest run of games. So firstly, they have Swindon at home. That's going to be no easy game for them. Like I just mentioned, they've been on a decent run under Ian Holloway, and at this point in the season they've still got an outside chance of the playoffs, so I don't think that's going to be an easy game for Doncaster. Then they've got a couple of hard away games to Crewe and Salford, 2 teams chasing the playoffs. I think Crewe will definitely be harder than the Salford game. Then Carlisle at home, that'll be no easy game. Yes, they're bottom of the table, but they've been very good recently under Mark Hughes, just 1 goal conceded in their last 4 games, so that's not going to be an easy one for Grant McCann's side. Then they have the league leaders at home. I think at home Doncaster have struggled quite a lot so far this season against all of the top half. I don't think they've won a game against a team in the top half at home so far this campaign. Then Cheltenham away. Cheltenham I think are the 5th best home team in the division, so that's going to be no easy game for them either. Wimbledon at home, again another team in that top 6. Tranmere away, now they've recently changed manager, that's not going to be an easy one. Colchester at home, been on a very good run under the Cowleys, and then the end of the season with Bradford at home and Notts County away. None of them fixtures really are favourable. You can make an argument as to why Doncaster would win and lose all of their matches, but if teams want to be promoted, they've got to beat the good teams around them. The fixtures aren't particularly nice for them, and with them having played a game more than a lot of the teams around them, they're going to have to start beating some of these teams. They'll have to beat a Wimbledon, they might have to beat a Notts County, they might have to beat a Bradford if they want to get promoted this season, but I certainly wouldn't want Doncaster's running. None of them fixtures look favourable. Next up then, we'll go to 4th place at Notts County. Now, they do have one game in hand on the top 3, so they do have an extra game to play, hence why there is an asterisk down here, because on paper they have got the hardest games, but they do still have one more game to play. Now, the extra game that they do play is away to Grimsby, which accumulates 3 points, so you take that one off, then at 30, it puts them at about mid-range. But I still think this is a good look to see how hard or easy their games are going to be, and I certainly wouldn't really like Notts County's running either, to be honest. They've got Wimbledon away on Saturday. That'll be a really tricky one, followed by that game away to Grimsby. Chesterfield at home, I would be expecting them to pick up the win in that, but they have struggled at home recently. Then Crewe at home, again, that'll be a very tough game because they'll still be looking to pick up the points to get into the playoffs this season. Newport away, they've been pretty decent recently under Nelson Yardim. You've got a very pacey, tricky attack. Bobby Canwell scoring a hat-trick, David Ajaboye, then you've got the likes of Courtney Baker-Richardson as well, so that won't be an easy game. MK Dons at home, I would expect them to win that game, in all honesty. I think MK Dons are a really, really poor side. Colchester away, that'll be a really tough game since the Cowleys have come in. I think Colchester haven't lost since the middle of January, so that'll be a tough one. Salford at home, again, I would be expecting them to win that. I don't really see them making the playoffs, but I do still think it will be a pretty tricky game. Bradford away won't be an easy game with how good Bradford City's home form has been so far this campaign. Cheltenham at home, I would definitely expect them to win that. Cheltenham's away form isn't amazing. Harrogate away, you think, well, Harrogate should be an easy win for them, but Harrogate just have these type of games where they'll nick a 1-0 win against a Doncaster, they'll beat a Bradford City, so I don't see why they couldn't do that to Notts County as well. And obviously the end of the season with Doncaster at home, it could be a shootout for one of the automatic promotion spots between Notts County and Doncaster. Whoever wins that game goes on to get automatic promotion. That would be a real treat, wouldn't it? AFC Wimbledon are the penultimate team for us to go through and review their fixtures. Now, on paper, you'd probably say they have the easiest because they do have one game in hand on a lot of teams, and they've only got a 30 total point score. On Saturday, it'll be a pretty tough one at home to Notts County with how poor Wimbledon's form has been recently, but Notts County, again, they've been a little bit inconsistent. No McGoldrick and Jones at this moment in time, so that'll be interesting to see what that final score does finish. Then Cheltenham at home, I would expect them to win that with how poor Cheltenham's form has been. Carlisle away, that'll be a tough one, like I mentioned about, I think it was Doncaster. Carlisle have been very good recently under Mike Hughes, very hard to score against, and Wimbledon are not really scoring many goals as it is, so I could maybe see them picking up a 0-0 in that game. At Barrow at home, I would expect them to win that, but Barrow picked up a good away win against Notts County on Tuesday, so that won't be easy. Walsall away, that'll be a tough game. Obviously, the Saddlers have been pretty good at the Bescot so far this season, but recently, obviously, they have taken a little bit of a wobble. Swindon away, Wimbledon might just catch them as Swindon realise that their season is done, which will obviously be good for them, but they've been unbeaten in a very long time at the county ground under Ian Holloway. Harrogate at home, I would expect an easy 3 points in that game. Doncaster away will be a really tough one with how poor Donny's record is at home to a lot of the top sides. Chesterfield at home, again, I would expect them to win that game with how poor Chesterfield have been recently. Gillingham away, bit of a derby, I think. London, Kent, two southernish teams, I guess you could probably say. So I don't think that'll be an easy game, but with how poor Gillingham have been, what is it, one win in the last 14, I would be expecting Wimbledon to win that if they want promotion. Port Vale at home, I think will be a really, really tricky game. At this point, I would actually back Port Vale for the win in that one, so that won't be easy. And the end of the season with Grimsby away, I can't think of many harder fixtures than Grimsby away. If they're going to be battling out for the playoffs, they've been very good at home under David Artell. They'll be going all guns blazing to get the 3 points, so that will be a real dramatic end to the season. It could be a case of if Grimsby win, they get the playoffs. If Wimbledon win, they finish in the top 3. I'm really looking forward to the final couple of games of the season, but on paper, you would certainly say Wimbledon's running is very favourable, despite having 4 of the top 6 still to play. And the final team then is Port Vale. Now, they do have the most amount of points, I think. Yeah, they do have the most amount of points, but they also have 2 games extra to play, that being Colchester away and Barrow at home. Their next couple are pretty favourable fixtures, to be fair. Port Vale's running doesn't really get tricky until April. Yes, there's some tough games and there's some tough away games as well. Fleetwood, Colchester and Crewe will all be really hard games, but if they can pick up maybe 5 points out of them games, I don't think it would be the end of the world. In between that, they do have 3 home games on the bounce against MK Dons, Morecambe and Barrow. They've surely got to be targeting 9 points in that run of fixtures, minimum 7 points in that one, but surely they've got to be targeting 9 because their April running does get very tricky with Bradford at home, followed by Walsall away. They will be 2 very, very hard games. Bromley at home, I would expect them to win that, but Bromley, we've seen them this season. They have picked up a few good results on the road. They've beaten Doncaster away. I think they also Did they get a result against Notts County? I think they might have got a draw against Notts County. They recently beat Wimbledon away as well. Then they've got Carlisle away. Carlisle are really going to be scrapping for their lives by that point in the season, or if they continue their good run of form that they've been on, they might already be safe, so that might be an easier game potentially for Port Vale. Grimsby at home, again, that'll be a really tough one. I think I'd rather have Grimsby at home, though, than at Grimsby away. Wimbledon away as the penultimate game of the season, that could be a massive 6 points before ending the season with Gillingham at home. I don't think you'll get many easier fixtures to end the season than at Gillingham at home. Looking at some of the other options around there, I think you'd definitely rather be ending the season on Gillingham at home rather than a Grimsby away or a Doncaster at home and Notts County away, a Crewe away, for example. So I think Port Vale have definitely got the easiest last game of the season, but I'm sure they'll already be hoping that their automatic promotion is sealed by then. So here is the full table then that I have put together. I would say, like I mentioned, that Wimbledon probably do on paper have the easiest run of results. Bradford have got the easiest next couple, but they've probably got one of the harder run-ins, to be honest with you. Walsall have got a pretty favourable run-in, but their fixtures up to that are pretty tough. I look at Doncaster's running, that looks really tricky in there. Notts County have probably got maybe the hardest, and Port Vale, yes, they've got a couple of extra games to play, but I don't think their running's particularly favourable. At this stage in the season, it is pretty hard to know who is going to be deemed an easier game or a harder game, because you don't necessarily know where Accrington are going to be in 7 games' time, or a Harrogate. If they're already safe, then them last couple of fixtures for Walsall look on paper pretty easy. If Bradford are already promoted, then that might be an easy game for Doncaster. If Doncaster are already promoted, it might be an easier game for Bradford. So I think the running is definitely very hard to predict based on these fixtures, and obviously it's just a rough guide because you've got teams like Salford who have been on a bad run of form but are still worth the same amount as a Crewe, who have still got an outside chance of the automatic promotion places. And then you also look at a Carlisle who are bottom of the table compared to a Gillingham who haven't really got much to play for this season. They're based on the same ranking, so it is just a very rough guide. Teams like Chesterfield, MK Dons, Swindon, they'll all be really tough games, but if they're already on the beach, then they might be deemed a little bit easier, so you probably want to play them a little bit later. So based on that, at this moment in time, the 3 teams that I think will be automatically promoted into League One will be Bradford City, will be Doncaster Rovers. I really want to back Notts County, but I think it massively does depend on the fitness of Jody Jones and Dave McGoldrick, and that maybe puts me off them slightly. So I'm going to go Bradford City, Doncaster Rovers and Port Vale. Let me know if you agree down in the comment section down below. Get your top 3 in down below. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe. Your support as always is massively appreciated, and I'll see you very soon for another one. We might do a similar style video for the relegation running. Let me know if you want to see that down below.